Hey guys, it's Steve Lamothe, the founder at Elevate Realty Group, and today we are breaking down what in the heck is going on with this huge settlement and lawsuit with the National Association of Realtors. I mean, it's been hitting front pages of all the major news sites, like 6% commissions are going away and real estate agents are gonna be non-existent and agents have been stealing from consumers. And I've been avoiding this conversation because it wasn't really news. I considered it inside baseball. But I wanted to really educate our clients and those who are considering buying and selling from a very honest perspective. Yes, I'm a licensed real estate agent, but I'm also a heavy consumer as well. I've paid hundreds of thousands of dollars of commission when selling my own personal properties that I've renovated and flipped. So I would consider myself an expert home seller and then also an expert home buyer and then an expert agent helping home buyers and sellers. So in a nutshell, what this case was there were several federal cases that came to light in various states that were suing the associations and the brokerages for collaborating and ultimately price fixing. So the argument was that brokerages were working together, colluding, and holding commissions at 6%, right? And several cases were won in state court. I'm not a legal expert, but they were class action lawsuits. So they had won one case, which then, of course, in multiple other states, people filed suit, same claim, and then that rolled all the way up to a national class action lawsuit by which the Association of Realtors just settled. The total amount was nearly $500 million. Well, you have to understand what class action lawsuits are and also understand why companies would rather settle than fight this out in litigation for 5 or 10 years. I mean, it would literally bankrupt the association and all the brokerages. So, whether the claims are right or wrong, it doesn't matter at this point. The associations and the brokerages are going to settle and not claim any wrongdoing just so they don't go bankrupt trying to fight for their cases, which is really sad. And I think that's how courts are really screwed up in America. There's some really core issues going on that I think are rightfully accusations, and I want to explain those. So, is there price fixing and collusion between us as agents, our brokerages, and the Association of Realtors? I would say I've been in this industry for almost 14 years, right? A top 1,000 agent in the country. So I would know because I'm in groups and I spend my life, getting together and masterminding of how to be better in this business. I can honestly say absolutely not. I've never colluded or heard of collusion ever. I've also never spoken to anybody at NAR, National Association of Realtors, or the California Association, or the MLS, unless I'm paying a fine for following their silly rules, right? So collusion, I think, is a very broad statement. I can be honest with you as my clients that never happened, and I think that's a big claim. And I think it's being misconstrued, and I'll get to that in a minute of why this case, has some merit. Number 2, commission of 6% is fixed. This is absolutely false. And in California, I mean, every single appointment I've gone on for the last 7 years, I've negotiated, and many of you were my clients. I presented to you a menu of options. We have various commissions. Many of you negotiated commissions. The argument that commissions are fixed is just false. And in every other market, it works the same way. Sellers typically negotiate the fee. We have an agreement. This has some merit though, is how buyers' agents are compensated, right? And how is that compensation displayed? And when is that compensation actually presented and educated to the buyers themselves, right? And so that is a very gray and sticky and weird area. Back in the 1990s, originally the model was before the 90s that you would hire me as your listing agent. Let's say we agreed on 5 or 6%. Let's just say, for example, we agreed on 5%. I would go out and start to market your property in my own little network, no internet, no MLS, and I would tell people about your home. I would send postcards. I would talk to all my friends, and I would hold open houses in a very small network, right? And if I brought you a buyer, there was no other cooperating agents, I would just bring a buyer, we would write an offer, and I would collect an entire fee, 5%. I would also have what's called dual agency, and so I would have this sticky gray fiduciary responsibility for buyer and seller. That doesn't make any sense. That model, it like died in the 90s for good reason. It wasn't in the best interests of the seller or the buyer, and agents got collectively together with MLSs with the advent of the internet and MLSs, and as that took foothold, and the associations, and we all decided, okay, let's take that fee that we would keep all to ourselves. If we were super greedy, we would want to keep that 5 or 6% totally for us, and it would benefit everybody involved if we separated the duties and we had a buyer's agent represent the buyer. That way they have full access, they can leverage their agent and go look at 67 homes if they want, and the seller has their own representation, and it keeps them out of litigation. There's a lot of great things that come when you have two sides negotiating for each other, and the listing agent will take a part of their fee and offer that to the buyer's agent. That's the model that changed everything, and that made it fair for everybody, and it also brought a lot of power to buyers, and it informed buyers. It allowed them due diligence periods. It really was a beautiful model. The issue became that agents, they would typically just show properties to buyers without like doing a needs analysis to sit down, explain the financing process, explain what I do for you as a buyer's agent, and how do I get paid, right? Who pays me to work for you if I spend 300 hours working on your behalf? Agents have been trained to explain that. On our team, we sit down with every buyer and do a presentation, we sign a contract, we say how we're paid, but the vast majority of the marketplace doesn't, and that's why this issue has come up. And that's why people undervalue agents, is that agents are just running around opening doors and not really explaining what they do and how they're paid and how much time it takes and the things that they do for the buyer. So in a nutshell, the ruling says that in the MLS, we cannot put, let's say we're offering 2.5% to buyer's agents. The rule is stating that we're no longer going to put that in the MLS, because that could be considered steering an agent to show a property based on compensation of one and not the other. That gets into kind of a gray area. I think what I wanted to more explain is what was it before the rule changed in the 90s, what has it been, and why is there so much animosity around this issue, and why is everyone in such an uproar? And I think honestly, everyone's gonna hate me for this, but the statistics are 80% of the agents in the industry right now go out of business within 24 months of entering the business. And so if you think about that, 80% of the client interaction with agents is going to be misinformed, uneducated, not following a clear process, really no unique value because they're brand new or they don't really have value. And so the consumers are running into these agents at mass as a majority. And so ultimately that's going to reflect poorly on the industry, because you have all of these agents with no value running around uneducated and they're not experienced. That makes sense. So when a case like this comes along, of course the majority is going to have that experience and want to attack the experience that they had. The biggest challenge is there's still a lot of agents in the marketplace right now that offer tremendous value. And so I think this is a very small issue that has big influence because it sounds good and it creates headlines. But ultimately, I don't think it will incredibly change the overall cost of doing business. I think it might change how buyer's agents are paid, but I think the best part about this is it's going to drive more value to the customer. It's going to create better deals for the customer. And honestly, at Elevate Realty Group, we've been running this way for 7 years, right? Meaning we give every customer a menu of options at different costs. This was our innovative solution. Like, there was no agents in Sacramento that did this. And now there's a lot more today because we've been doing this for a long time and they see our success. And so we put the power back in the customer's hands and say, okay, what do you want to pay us, right? If we're going to get paid a full fee, we're going to give you all of this value. We're going to do our renovation program. We're going to offer to pay for staging, all this stuff. Well, if you don't need any of that, then of course we're not going to charge you a full fee. There is no set rate. And I know a lot of agents around the country that do this. So I wanted to, this is a longer video than most, but this is an important topic. I wanted to get the real information out there, get past the headlines. We know the news loves headlines. If you've been watching politics over the last couple of months, and even just a few days ago, if you heard the bloodbath quote, read past the headlines, please, and listen to those that are in the industry that have a vested interest to be in the industry 10 years from now. I hope that this brings transparency. As always, if you ever want to chat or if you're interested in becoming an agent, still a great career, call us at 916-436-SELL or visit us at homesbyelevate.com.